rejoice and be glad in it. Sing that. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day, a day to be seized, yeah. A day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and higher up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and higher up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
All right, Bradfords. Good morning. Welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Clyde Goings. I'm the assistant minister, and I'm going to welcome you here on this beautiful Sunday morning. And we have a lot of stuff going on, so I'm going to quickly run through the announcements. So the first and probably the most important announcement is that next Sunday's Super Bowl. And we are still having church. Okay? Most important thing, we are still having service next Sunday. Come to service, Super Bowl afterwards. Okay. All right, so that's the most important announcement this morning. The next one is Kathy will be doing the Essential Earnest class on Tuesday, starting this Tuesday. It's on Thursday, I apologize, Thursday from 1:30 to 3:30. So if you have any questions, please see Kathy. The class, again, is going to start this Tuesday, and we'd love for you to join. This Thursday. Hold on, please. I need to put my glasses on. Thursday. Okay. All right. And then choir rehearsal right after service. Kathy Bradford is ready to have our choir rehearsal after service. And then we are having a craft afternoon on Saturday, February the 11th. And that's with Kelly and Veronica. If you have any questions, raise your hand, Kelly and Veronica. So they're back there in the back. So please join them. That's from 1 to 4 p.m. on Saturday. And then one last announcement is our wonderful fundraiser. Remember I was talking about this last Sunday? Well, we are making progress. And so keeping with our theme of remarkable, so the yellow cards, you're going to see these on the wall in there. The yellow cards represent that we have somebody outside of our community that signed up our community as a beneficiary. And I'm just going to let you guys know that was my card that I put up there, the yellow one. But well, more to come on it. But we have our first non-community member that is sponsoring or signing up our community as a beneficiary. So that's remarkable. So more to come on that. So thank you. So we do, yes, ma'am. Sure, Jan. So we are doing a fundraiser with Fry's. So Fry's donates money to nonprofit organizations up to $50,000 a quarter. And all you have to do is sign us up as your beneficiary. And every time you shop, then points go towards us and we get the money. And your program with the gasoline that you get credit, discounts on gasoline, all of that same, all the perks stays the same. Okay? Thanks, Jan. All right, so welcome again. And so we come together every Sunday to remember our truth that we're whole, perfect, and complete just the way we are. And we also come to listen to Reverend Karen's beautiful message. So I know that today is no different, right? So we are all here celebrating life, living life, and expressing life. So after service, please join us in fellowship in Papke Hall. So let's start the service off by saying our vision statement. So if you can repeat after me. We are a loving, joy-filled community, honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the science of mind principles. And so it is. So if you can just sit back, relax, open up your hearts and minds for the Bradford's beautiful music and Reverend Karen's beautiful message. Thank you.
I will make a quiet place within my heart. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my life,
and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
I will make a quiet place.
In this quiet place, this sacred space, where the essence of all there is, all there ever has been, and all there ever will be, presides. I choose to call this essence God. God is love, light, joy, beauty, peace, health, abundance, prosperity. And I am an individualization of this God. And as I know that is true for me, I know it is true for each of us here, each of us watching, and each of us on the whole planet. I say a word of blessing for Reverend Karen, for her wonderful words, her divine wisdom that speaks through her, that teaches us, that shows us how to be better and how to take the message that she gives us and carry it forth. And I say a word of blessings for the Bradfords and their wonderful music that always, always lights us up, brings us in, gives us joy. And I just release this into the law, knowing this service is absolutely perfect, whole, and complete. And together we say, and so it is. My reading today is back from my extension study course that I took. I love this course. 48 weeks worth of Ernest Holmes, which I thought was kind of fun. You will discover that a spiritual interpretation of the science of mind leads to the acceptance of the thought that the creative spirit works in and through each of us, that the power which we seek we already possess, and that the recognition of this power is certain to demonstrate the reality of its presence through a betterment in all outward circumstances. These are the tools we use, and most amazing results are obtained when they are used definitely and for specific purposes. Now, the Word of God means consciousness of God doing something. It is God in the act of creation. I am sure that we all believe that God is in and through all people and all things. As a matter of fact, there is nothing else that we could be made of, is there, except God? On page 393, you will find these words. The correct understanding that mind is an unformed state can be called forth into individual use is the key to all proper mental and spiritual work from a practical viewpoint. This means that every time we think, we use the energy of God. And on page 414, thoughts are more than things. They are the cause of things. Something to contemplate. And so it is.
So this is the month of love, everybody. So let's be love in action. And this is a great song. You guys love it. Sing along with us. Let your love flow.
There's a reason for the sunshine and sky, and there's a reason why I'm feeling so high. Must be the season when that love light shines all around us. So let that feeling grab you deep inside and send you reeling where your love can't hide, when it goes stealing through the moonlight nights with your lover. Just let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show. And you know what I mean, it's the season. Just let your love fly like a bird on the wing, and let your love bind you to all living things, and let your love shine. And you know what I mean, it's the reason. There's a reason for the warm sweet nights, and there's a reason for the candle lights. Must be the season where those love lights shine all around us. So let that wonder take you into space and lead you under its loving embrace. Just feel the thunder as it warms your face. You can't hold back.
Now let me hear you guys.
Just let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show. And you know what I mean, it's the season. Just let your love fly like a bird on the wing, and let your love bind you to all living things, and let your love shine. And you know what I mean, it's the reason.
One more time.
Just let your love flow like a mountain stream, and let your love grow with the smallest of dreams, and let your love show. And you know what I mean, it's the season.
Bradfords. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good morning. Welcome to the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Karen Rice, and I'm the spiritual leader of this community. Happy to be here today. I got something important to say, and I'm excited about it and all revved up, which apparently is appropriate for reverends to be revved up. So, I'm up for it. I got this. I did want to say, since you all came in through the same door, that you probably noticed it looks a little different than it did last week when you arrived. It will be repaired. We had hoped to have it done by now, but the glass had to be special ordered, and it was just a random. The police said we are not the first in just like even a mile, less than a mile, I think. Other churches are having the exact same thing. Nothing missing, no damage to the building, just a big rock went through the glass, and it's a huge inconvenience, and it rattles us a little bit. So let's all join together and really affirm our safety, our well-being, the quick replacement of the glass, because we aren't opening that door during the week, so it's really hard to answer the doorbell when it rings. And I mention this for two reasons. One, I hate it when people don't address the elephant in the room, but secondly, because Rod, how much does Rod love us? Rod came, Reverend Clyde came to do his duties, and he comes before the sun comes up. He comes very early in the morning because he has a real job. Well, not a real job, but he has another job other than just being our assistant minister and our CFO. And he called the police, and he did all the things that needed to be done. And then he called the glass company, and how much did they want? $800 to put the plywood in, just to come over and put the plywood in. And he went, "Oh, no thanks." And he called Rod, and Rod came over and saved the day for us. My friend, that is a huge gift to us. Thank you so much. You saved us a lot of money. Whew, I almost said buttload. So glad I didn't say that. That would have been so inappropriate. Because I am here today to talk to you about the joy of becoming. The joy of becoming, and I'm just going to get right into it, because the quotation I took is from Dr. Ernest Holmes in a book that he wrote called "Can We Talk to God?" And what's the answer to that question? Yes. Hell yeah. Yes, we can, and we do, and everybody does in one way or another. The quote is especially good. And by the way, if you're visiting and if you don't have a background in the kind of the jargon we've been throwing around this morning, it feels like we've been heavy in language that works for us, but others might not understand completely. Thank you, Jan, for pointing that out. Dr. Ernest Holmes is the founder of this teaching. Centers for Spiritual Living is our organization, and we are, so open to, as you heard, honoring all paths to God. And Dr. Holmes' whole goal was not to make a new religion, but to find a thread of golden truth in all religions, and that together is how we have created this teaching that is a beautiful, relevant method of spiritual practice, a practical application of spiritual principles based on the teachings of Jesus. So here is a quote from Dr. Ernest Holmes in the book, "Can We Talk to God?" And here's what he said that got me all excited. Doesn't take much some days. "We should venture forth into life with a will to do, the determination to be, and a joy in becoming." So I was just so tickled and taken by this quotation, because I hear a triune nature of life. There are three things he says here that we venture forth with a will to do. Are we willing to do the work that is ours to do? We talked about that last week when we looked at our gifts. Do we have the determination to be this beautiful person we were born to be? And can we also be willing to find a joy in our becoming? And you know what that means? You know what when we speak about becoming in terms of a spiritual connection, it's the way that we are always becoming a little more. Every day we know a little more than we did the day before. And every tomorrow has new opportunities for us to grow or to learn or to step into more. So if you look at the way the universe works, if you look at the way Spirit so perfectly created this universe where everything has a perfect order to it and a movement and a relationship. Each thing relates to the next thing, and then everything in the heavens moves in this, there's orbits, and we have a moon, and it affects our tides, and everything is perfect in the way it interacts with everything else. And we are a part of that big order. And so what we say and what we hear even ancient deep thinkers, the philosophers, the scientists of old say that the universe is always becoming. It will never be finished. And it reminds me that no, whether I'm looking at my own physical life or I'm looking at my spiritual journey, it will never be finished. After I shed this body, life is eternal, and the ongoingness of life is indeed forever and ever. So life continues, and we see that it doesn't just continue, but that it gets more complex and intelligent, and more possibilities are always right in front of us. Our job and our invitation this morning is to find joy in that process of becoming, right? So it's about doing, but it's also about being, and it's about being willing to be joyful while you're in the process. So the message this morning is different than last week's message, where we really honed in on what's your gift? What is that quality about you that everybody can see? Maybe you don't see it all the time yourself, but you know it. You know it's yours. But that, it's different this morning. The message is different from that this morning, because we're just talking about being, right? There's a doingness that's in that triune nature. But we're talking today about the beingness in the becoming, that the becoming is just going to happen. You don't have to do any work, right? You are going to be a little bit more tomorrow than you were today, just because it's the nature of the way life goes. And I believe we can find joy in that natural unfolding, and that sometimes I think we take it too serious. So the 2 points that I'm going to cover this morning that I desire for you to leave with a stronger understanding of is that we can allow joy in this process of becoming, in living our lives in that natural way, that it is not drudgery, that it is not the toil of working hard as it's sometimes interpreted in other spiritual traditions perhaps. And the second thing I wanted to mention is that we look at how we can combine those 3 ideas of doing, of being, and of having joy in the whole package of all of it. So I've been real verbal since I got back from vacation. I've been chatting a lot about the theme that I've laid out for us, the vision that's unfolding in my vision, in my own visioning for our community. Our theme is remarkableness. And I thought today, that's so perfect for today, because there is a way we can look at the practice of being remarkable. Let's be remarkable together. That there can be joy in that. And in fact, if it's devoid of joy, maybe we need to rethink what our remarkable looks like in our own journey, because it's going to be important for us to have a good time. Joy is a quality of God. It is in our DNA to be joyful. That's why it's so traumatic when you go through a depression or when you have a lengthy grieving process in your life. Because we know that it's contrary to the way we've been created, that it's a little harder to tap into that joy when you're going through those experiences. But those experiences also pass. So we want to look at that idea of being remarkable and joyful about our remarkableness to realize there's a latent potential within us that desires expression on this planet. And that's when Kathy speaks of we are individualized expressions of God. That's what we're talking about. that each of us is, and we are, absolutely unique in the way we embrace the life that is ours. So every choice we make, have you ever stopped to think how many choices that every day you make? It would be remarkable to walk around with a little, put a little check mark every time you realize you've just made another choice, because there are all kinds of simple, this or that, or, it's endless. So every choice we make throughout our lives points us in a specific direction. And if I'm pointed in this direction, then my experiences will come from that walk. If I point myself in the other direction, then that will be true too. But I won't have necessarily those experiences that I would have had I gone in that way, right? But the beauty of this path is that we begin to realize that there's not a wrong way and a right way. It would be easy to have regret and say, that time when I was 16 and I got into that mischief, and man, I wish that never happened. Or, if I had only done that when I had this opportunity. It's easy to live by regrets, but we don't ever have to do that. Because whatever choices you made led you to other experiences, and life is so open, and we are so inherently made to be able to take whatever is given to us, and we'll get the lessons we need. If we don't get it now, we'll get it later. So we don't ever have to worry about taking a wrong path. It just might be that some of the choices we make are harder lessons to live with, and experiences to live through. And bring consequences to our loved ones as well. So as we age, we learn those things, and then we become, in the moment, we make a higher quality, perhaps we put more thought into some of our decisions as compared to before that. Now, our choices are all different, because we have different likes and dislikes. I don't like butter, and other people like lots of butter. So everything about us is like that. We have likes and dislikes. We're influenced by our upbringing. We are impacted by the culture that we are born into, and it goes so on and so on. And I always think about, even our friends impact who we are. We get things in our relationships with each other. We get things from each other that we wouldn't get any other way. And I always think about when my kids were, I have 4 kids, when they were teenagers and preteens. You might relate to this. And you let them, they start wanting to go to overnight, spend the night with a friend, or the girls all went to slumber parties, or worse yet, we had a slumber party. Woo. You only do that once or twice in your life, and then you learn. But I noticed that when I was new at that, when my children got of age where they started mingling in the world, and they're all looking for BFFs, that especially girls in junior high, they all want a BFF. Or they all have a BFF. And then you notice as the parent, like they come home and they're acting different. And you don't necessarily like the way they're acting. You like them better before they started picking up those little traits from the people that they're mingling with. And that's what life is like. It's a really good example. The best part of that, you would never have done this. I did this, though. I will admit that I did this. Then when they get into mischief, you're certain it wasn't your kid's fault. It was the influence of the bad friend that made them act that way. I worked in a drug rehab center for teens. My last job before ministry, I worked there 14 years. I was the program coordinator of the communication class that if they got into mischief, their probation officers mandated that they take this class. Nobody liked me. They had to sit for 7 weeks, and their parents had to come with them, and the parents hated that, and the kids hated being in the room with their parents. But it was a really good program. But every intake summary that you do, the parents would always say, I thought it was sort of sweet actually, but there would be one parent, not both necessarily, but there would be one parent that would say, he didn't do it. He was just holding that marijuana for his friend. He didn't, it wasn't his. He was just stupid. If he needs to be punished, it's for being stupid. And then we would all laugh. And then the parents would leave the room and the kids would always go, yeah, I did it. It was mine. It's like, well, we knew that. So we're influenced by each other and by all kinds of other things that impact how we make our choices. I was thinking it's much like looking at a menu in a restaurant, you know. If I step into a restaurant and they bring me a menu, then now I have this variety of, I have to make a choice, and there's all kinds of things on that menu, and you got to narrow it down. What am I in the mood for? Now, you probably already narrowed it down before you walked into that restaurant. I don't go to Mercer's and order sushi. You know, I wouldn't do that, right? If they had sushi, I probably shouldn't order sushi. I should probably go to a nice Japanese restaurant if I'm in the mood for sushi. If I'm in the mood for chicken and dumplings and okra and greens and cornbread, I'm going to go to that country restaurant, you know, with the rocking chairs out front, you know? So we make our choices based on things we like. Are you getting the feeling here? There is some pleasure. We have the privilege of asking ourselves, what's your pleasure right now? And then the other piece of that, it's not only just this big menu of choices, but it's where shall you go? And what is your expectation for sharing a meal with someone? So it would be different if my husband and I were going out. We had a series of favorite restaurants. In our case, it had to be on a patio because in his last 10 years or so, he only ate on patios. He wouldn't go in a restaurant. It was very cute. I actually didn't think it was cute. It's very hot in the summer here to eat on a patio, and the servers are in the back doing rock, paper, scissors as to who's going to have to wait on you in the heat. But we did, and at least we were eating out. I was happy about that. But I notice now when somebody wants to meet me for lunch, there are a number of ways in which I choose or I throw out I don't know, where do you want to eat? What I throw out, it will have to do something with the atmosphere. I used to take people, once in a while, I'd want a meeting with you, and I would say, meet me at this coffee shop up on 107th, and it was a perfect place for meetings, and it was a nice central place for all the people that live in the Sun Cities that are west. So it was a great location until they remodeled. And the environment inside the coffee shop now had this big echo because they did something where they changed the ceiling. And when they would throw the stuff around while they're making coffee, it would be loud and startling. And I went there one time and went, this is no longer inappropriate. I'm not comfortable here anymore. So think about the atmosphere, how the atmosphere of what kind of setting do you desire to create. So all of that comes together in how we make our choices. None are right, none are wrong. We just have preferences or purposes or menus, some food on the menu. And that is such a good illustration of life. Lots and lots, unlimited choices. And then we have to make the choice. Now, they've done research. There used to be a TV show, something about the brain. I can't remember the name of the show. But this is where I saw this information where they reported this research that it turns out, we as human beings, we don't love having too much choice. We think we do. So they built, there was a 31 flavors ice cream store, and they put in temporarily an ice cream store that was just a small family-run kind of homemade ice cream, and they only had 3 flavors, chocolate, vanilla, and I'm going to guess strawberry. Maybe a sherbet, I don't know. And so they observed, and they interviewed, and they collected data. So what they found was people were more likely to go into the 31 flavors because, woo, 31, that's a lot. But then they get inside. Then you get inside, and now you gotta make a choice. Now, sometimes you go there because you know what your favorite flavor is. But if you didn't go there if you went there because it's like, woo, look at all the choices we have, Now what happens to the brain is the brain starts reasoning and realizes that if you pick this choice, you won't get to have that. You can get 2 or 3 scoops on a cone, I'm just saying, and you can taste a lot. But when the people would leave the 31 choices, come out of the store, they were already feeling some regret. And so the scientists said it's that with that many choices, there's more risk that you won't get the exact perfect experience that you were hoping from when you went, ooh, ice cream sounds good. Isn't that interesting? So we're not nuts about choice, and yet, too many choices, and yet it's very useful to recognize how much our life is filled with choice. Because if you don't recognize that and you don't choose to put some joy in that, then you're likely to feel the risk, the disappointment, and the opposite of feeling good about it all. Now, when we look at our choices to be spiritually fed, I'm going to do this from sort of a cultural perspective. In the East, if you were born in Thailand and raised as a Buddhist, you're going to have a certain perspective of life that if you were born as a Christian in California, you wouldn't have the same perspective. So the spiritual traditions then have a way of impacting our belief. So in the East, and by the way, people in the East are very intrigued with us in the West, and we in the West really have enjoyed borrowing the bits and pieces of spiritual philosophies that feel good for us, right? We like to just take what we can use, and it works. And we're blessed to have access to so much information. But the Eastern philosophies deal with the beingness that Holmes was referencing in the beginning, that state of being. So, the theory is, if you look at the life of Siddhartha, of the Buddha, becoming enlightened and awakened, the theory is that I'm going to just sum it up in my own words. If you sit under the Bodhi tree long enough, you're going to get really wise. You're going to figure out the answers to all of the questions, because the story of Siddhartha is that he was a prince, a young prince in a wealthy family, and his father did not want him to see sickness and old age and death, so he built tall walls. And one day, while sitting on the back of an elephant, he was able to peer over the wall, and it upset his entire life, and he left the safety of the grounds that he lived upon, and he went out in the world, and he tried on all kinds of different religions or spiritual paths, and until he realized the only way he could get wise was sitting still. So there's a part of being that the Buddhists bring to us that is lovely, because they have an emphasis on acceptance. They have an acceptance in non-resistance. So we have a problem in the West. It's like, whoa, we got to solve the problem. What do I do? What can I buy? Who can I hire? We move right into action. And the Buddhists would not judge it as a problem, good or bad. They would ride through it. They would take the action they needed to take, I hope, it would seem. But they are really good at the art of being. Now, in the West, under a more Christian, a traditional, conservative sort of Christian influence of the West, we can see there's this great emphasis on doing, You got to get baptized. You got to get saved. You got to come to Christ. You got to change your evil ways. And by the way, you're nothing. You're nothing but a worm, and, you're going to get saved. It'll be fine. And then you, as a Christian, you do your work so that you can make it to heaven, right? We don't want to, we don't want to mess that up. We want to make sure our eternality isn't fiery and hot. So what we've seen happen today is that people have been, for a couple of decades now, people generally speaking have been leaving that religious environment and living, they're not so shy about wanting to live spiritual lives. In fact, first we used to blame the younger generations, like that's why the churches are there's no attendance because we can't get the young people in here. And then suddenly we started noticing, the people that do research on this stuff started noticing that it wasn't that they were turning their back on spirituality. It was that they were being fed through naturally spiritual new things like Star Wars, like Harry Potter. So it's so interesting to me that there are all these ways that might be condemned by very religious people, and yet as the Bible studies on college campuses started to disappear, the Harry Potter groups grew. So they're looking for a more universal way of practicing their spirituality. And then as they age and partner, then there seems to be some desire for some people to find something organized, but they're looking for a blended way where they can be accepted the way they are, that they don't step in this door and the minister's gonna, try and change you, hand you a membership form, It's like we don't do that. And so I love that the change that we're seeing in the world now is that contemplative Christian monks are combining prayer and meditation and spirit and reading in that contemplative way. Spiritual authors publish new books faster than I can read the reviews of them. Right? And they are blending ideas from lots of different cultures so that we can see the best of what's out there. Even the traditional TV preachers are relanguaging the way they are approaching their audiences because the guilt and the shame doesn't fly anymore. I'm not that it's gone. There'll always be preachers that do that. But people are really longing for a more inclusive environment, a place you can come where you feel accepted no matter how you dress or what your status in life is. And this thrills me because this is who we are. This is who Centers for Spiritual Living, these teachings called The Science of Mind, written 100 years ago. In 1919, Dr. Holmes published his first book, New Thought, which is greater than just our faith, but they have the same theories that we do, and the teachings of Jesus are important, but you can't keep sending people to hell. You can't, it's like we try, I like to say that. We won't try and scare the hell out of you. We don't do that. So for 150 years or more, and even if you look back at the classical philosophers, these teachings have been around a long time. People now are being drawn to spiritual principles that are more about transformation and less about salvation, and I'm grateful for that. We are talking more now about living your best life, less about a heavenly reward later. The TV preachers even are looking at, there are traditional Christian pastors who are having aha moments and recognizing they don't understand where the teaching of hell came from. That's not biblical. The reference to hell in the Bible is Gehenna, a fire. It was like a dump, and it was always burning, right? It was where you took your trash, and it became a symbol for a punishment. And mainstream preachers now are questioning, maybe there's more to that statement when Jesus said, heaven is within. What else could that have meant if it's not just a reward for living some kind of holy life? So going back to that opening quote and looking at that triune nature of life that we should venture forth with the will to do, the determination to be, and the joy of becoming, that's where we stand. We stand in the middle of that triune nature. We stand in the synchronicity of love and law. Love is the presence. It is about the being. Law is the movement. It is about the work. And all of life falls and can fit in that. When you begin to study this, we're having such a good time in the foundation class. When we begin to, it excites me. Ask anybody. It really excites me. When we are willing to see the blend of those three things and to stand in full authority, our own authority, that there can be joy in becoming, then our life changes. And I think that's an important element of remarkableness. That feels really vibrant and alive to me. In fact, I think it's so important that I set on my time off in January, and I'm just about to unveil the project I've been working on. I am creating a 40-day healing opportunity. And all of you, including you who are watching from home, all of you are invited to be a part of this program that we're going to start on the first week of Lent. So it just so happened, boy, I'm telling you, Easter's here, you guys. Don't even think it's not. It's like, ooh, Christmas, yeah, Easter, because Lent starts, the 40 days of Lent, based on Ash Wednesday, is the 22nd of February. That is a little more than 2 weeks away from us. So I'm very excited because on the Sunday before Lent is our annual business meeting. Now, if you consider yourself an engaged part of this community, you are invited to that meeting. And we do need a quorum in order to meet our bylaw requirements. So, we're really encouraging you to come to church that day. And on that day, I will have packets for you with my 40-day challenge. And what we're going to do for 40 days, I have a plan. I have such a beautiful spiritual experience for you. We are going to move through Lent. Now, in a very traditional Christian way, Lent is when you give up something. Lent is a time of spiritual cleansing through some kind of fasting. And I used to be Catholic, so we always put a lot of thought in what one pleasure would I be willing to give up for 40 days. Now, I want you to see what we're doing here. We're not giving up any pleasures. I'm encouraging joy in our becoming. And because those 40 days are so holy around the world in different ways, I think it is a beautiful time for us to set our own personal intentions. So if you look at the metaphysical interpretation, not a Christian, but a metaphysical, a universal interpretation of Lent with the 40 days, we see that it means we are fasting from negativity. Right? So now I'm not asking you to not do anything negative, to not have a negative thought. I'm asking you to focus on your joy so that you can be aware of those times where your thinking has slipped back into something worrisome, negative. It's error thinking that does not serve you in a positive way. Another definition says that we fast from negativity because we are preparing for the resurrection. Remember, Easter Sunday, he is risen. We take the story of Jesus rising after 3 days in the tomb. We are preparing for the resurrection of the mind from darkness, the resurrection of the mind from doubt and from false beliefs, from those beliefs that just don't serve you anymore. So what I have in the packet, I'm so excited, is that there's going to be a daily reading, and there will be space for you to write your own thoughts about that reading, how it applies to you personally. Anything you need to write down, you will. It will have affirmation cards for every day's reading that you can carry with you, and it will come with a commitment card. If you desire to play the 40-day opportunity and take the challenge with us, I want you to print your name and sign a card and give it to me. Get it to me, because I am going to sit every day of those 40 days, and I'm going to hold your cards and pray. I am praying to support you in the way that you are looking to fast from negativity in your own life. I'm going to support you in the most positive way I can. And it will be a pleasure for me to go through that stack of commitment cards every day, to read your name and to hold you tenderly in my heart. There's a whole bunch more that goes with it. I will introduce that at the meeting. The meeting will happen. The Dining for the Dudes, thank you, dudes. Thank you, guys, for changing the date so that we can have food on that day, because we'll sit a little more happily if we aren't hungry. And then we'll do all of the important things we need to do that day to satisfy our bylaws and the corporate requirements and all that stuff. So lots of opportunity, you could consider it a spiritual challenge, because biblically the spiritual 40-day or 40-year challenge always represented spiritual growth. Do you know that in the Bible there are more than 20 references to 40 days or 40 years? More than 20 times. I bet we could name 5 of them right now if we didn't even think too much, but we won't do that. You're thinking about it though, aren't you? Uh-huh. You already got Noah. Raise your hand if you already thought of Noah. The best definition I pulled came from the Metaphysical Dictionary that comes from Unity, Charles Fillmore. And he said that 40, the number 40, is a symbol for the end of a generational idea. I do not think we have lived in a richer time for us to consider letting go of that pre-pandemic world. It ain't coming back. Letting go and beginning to have joy for what is becoming, for what is emerging in what I consider to be a new civilization. It's going to take a while to work out all the kinks, right? In fact, the way the universe works, it won't work out. When things get smooth and start going well, you can watch any kind of insect, how they interact in their communities. As an illustration, when things get smooth and go peacefully, it only lasts for so long, because when there's thriving, then there's a point where things get complex again. So the world is always recreating itself. Nature knows how to do this, and civilizations come and go as well. And yes, life is changing on the planet. I want us, there's enough negative news out there, I want us to be that firm presence of the positive stuff that is possible, and we can then be a part of positive change in not only in our own lives but in the world. There's one more thing of interest that I wanted to share this morning. And that is that we, as of January 30th, so that was last week, we began the season of nonviolence. The season of nonviolence was started by Arun Gandhi, and that's the grandson of the Gandhi. And I really was blessed to have met him when I was in ministerial school. It was on a campus of one of the San Diego churches, and the school was. And they had Arun Gandhi there as a speaker, and they invited him to have lunch with the ministerial students. And there was only a small group of us because a lot of people were online on the big. It wasn't like it is now. It was kind of archaic compared to how you guys do Zoom and stuff now. But so there were just a few of us in this room with Arun Gandhi, and I'm a groupie. If you know me, you know I just love, really, I'd follow the Bradfords anywhere just because they're musicians. Well, not anywhere, but but I did let one of your chickens sit on my lap for a visit once. And he told wonderful stories about what it was like to be the grandson of Gandhi. He said that there would be dignitaries in their home because they lived together. And he would come in as a little boy. He would just bounce in the room, not realizing there's some important meeting going on. And that his grandfather, the Gandhi, would say, "Oh, grandson, come here." And he would stop the meeting and he would hug him and love him and then scoot him on his way. But what an honor it was. And he told us stories about, it was so amazing, about how one time, so he's the grandson. His dad, who would have been Gandhi's son, did something bad. He was supposed to be doing chores and he went to the movies instead. And his dad found out. And so Gandhi was not happy, but it's like nonviolence. He's going to be punished, but it's being a nonviolent way. And he then punished him by making him, he took the car away. Oh, he wasn't little. He was a teenager. He was driving. I don't know. Well, maybe they don't have a driving age. And he made him walk a very lengthy distance, and he didn't get home till after midnight. It was dark at night. But Gandhi got in the car and followed him with the headlights on in the car. So he said, "This is your punishment, but I will be there with you." Right? I mean, he didn't want to be up till after midnight that night, I'm sure, but he did it in order to teach his son a lesson. The grandson of Gandhi speaks this story. So the best part of my time with Arun Gandhi, and by the way, he's the guy that brought the peace poles out to us, and we are one of the first churches in the Phoenix Valley to have the peace pole that's in the front of the property. We are one of the first. I saw the news clip in our archival information. That's an impressive privilege. But the best thing he said was he told it about a visit that Martin Luther King Jr. made to India. Now, Martin Luther King and Gandhi never met each other.